The project that I'm finishing right now is called Separating Signal from Noise and Annotator Disagreement. Basically, like whenever you're trying to get a computer to understand something that's kind of complicated, like let's say you want to make a model that can detect whether or not things are offensive, like tweets or something, you need to give it examples of what people think. And often we need to try and figure out like what examples of what people think are the right examples. You know, is someone giving a good label or a bad label? Are they paying attention or, you know, just clicking randomly whenever you get people to do this for you? But traditional models have kind of relied on basically assuming that if people disagree with the majority, then that means that they're doing a bad job and we should remove all of their opinions from the data set. But my research is basically like, well, that's actually not true. For example, if you want to make a model to detect offensiveness in tweets, that could actually vary a lot. There are lots of reasons to genuinely disagree about whether or not something is offensive. And so my research is basically, you know, how do we both remove bad annotations or bad examples of opinions while retaining ones where people genuinely disagree? Well, on the back end of like what takes in our data, it could be like any AI or machine learning model that takes it in, but we're kind of working on like the pre-processing for those models. And so to help it figure out what is correct and what is not, it's basically relying on some rules of probability and us creating a map of how we think people will behave. So we create kind of like a mathematical model of, you know, we think, oh, sometimes people are spamming or giving bad answers, and sometimes we think people are genuinely disagreeing, and then we try and get it to basically fit, like based off of our data, what is the most likely scenario that fits within the model that we create. One of the steps of the project is to first see how well do current methods work. And so when I was evaluating the current methods that don't consider that there could be genuine disagreement, I found that those models seriously suppress minority dissent. Like, for example, if you have two groups of people who systematically disagree and maybe one of them is only 20% of the population, the 20% group, their opinions will only account for 1% of the final answers because they're just being consistently rated as worse annotators. So yeah, that was really surprising and really motivated us to keep working on this and try and make it better. I think it's important because really people talk a lot about the dangers of AI. To me, I think one of the biggest dangers of AI is not some world-ending, James Bond scenario, but really more that the everyday inequalities that people experience will get scaled up times a million. And I think being able to enable people to have disagreement is really important, and not just ignoring people who disagree with the majority. I think that's as we continue to see these models in every parts of our lives, we really want things that can capture the nuance of human experience. And this project is kind of one step moving towards that direction. I think the research discovery process of finding an interesting result, kind of trying to dig into it, reading more, there's a certain type of excitement that you get when things all turn out right, or you find something that you really didn't expect. And I think that's kind of different than a typical software engineering project where maybe you're slowly building a product that comes along and you kind of fix issues as they go. You also have to do that in research, but in research there's a lot more unknowns. My advisor likes to say, if you know what the experiment result is going to be before you run it, then it's a bad experiment. It's an incredible opportunity. I mean, I've had the opportunity to basically come up with my own projects, decide what I want to work on, and then pursue that. I mean, sometimes my previous projects maybe didn't turn out as good as they could have if it had been, a grad student telling me everything to do, but it was an incredible learning experience. I really got to see the full process, and after this I'm planning on doing my PhD, and I don't think I would be as well prepared or even as successful through my applications and stuff if I hadn't had that experience of doing every step of a research project and kind of having that ownership.